As we begin this healing prayer journey, let your heart gently settle into the truth of Psalm 30 verse 2, O Lord my God, I cried to you for help, and you healed me. These words are not rushed, and they are not shallow. They are born from a place of deep need, deep honesty, and deep faith. This verse does not come from a moment of comfort, it comes from a moment of desperation. It comes from a cry, not a performance. It comes from a soul that reached the end of its own strength and discovered that God's healing power meets us most clearly when we are honest about our pain. There is something profoundly healing about realizing that God does not require polished prayers or perfect faith. He responds to cries that come from the depths of the heart. The psalmist does not say, I reasoned my way out of pain, or I fixed myself, or I endured until it passed. He says, I cried to you. That cry is raw. It is unfiltered. It is the sound of someone who has nothing left to rely on except God. And this is where healing truly begins, not when we pretend to be strong, but when we finally allow ourselves to be seen by God in our weakness. Healing often starts the moment you stop carrying everything alone and allow your heart to speak honestly before the Lord. God is not intimidated by your pain. He is not overwhelmed by your tears. He is not distant from your suffering. He draws near to it. O Lord my God. Even in pain, the psalmist anchors himself in relationship. This is not a distant God, not an unknown force, not a vague hope. This is my God. Personal. Present. Near. The cry for healing is rooted in relationship, not ritual. And that same invitation exists for you right now. You do not cry out to a stranger. You cry out to the God who knows your story, your body, your mind, your heart, and every place where you are hurting. The God who formed you also knows exactly how to restore you. When the psalmist says, I cried to you for help, it reveals something essential about healing. It begins with surrender. To cry for help is to admit need. It is to acknowledge that you cannot fix everything on your own. It is to let go of control and allow God to step into the places where human strength ends. Many people delay healing because they feel they must remain strong, composed, or self-sufficient. But Scripture shows us again and again that God responds powerfully to those who humble themselves before Him. Healing flows freely where pride releases its grip and trust takes its place. And then comes the promise that changes everything, and you healed me. Not, you ignored me. Not, you delayed forever. Not, you turned away. But, you healed me. This healing is not limited to one area. God's healing touches the whole person, body, mind, emotions, and spirit. Sometimes healing is immediate and visible, other times it is gentle and progressive. Sometimes it comes as physical restoration, other times it arrives as peace, strength, clarity, or renewed hope. But healing always carries the mark of God's presence. It restores more than what was broken, it restores confidence, trust, and life. As you listen to these words, allow yourself to identify with the psalmist. You may be carrying physical pain that has lingered longer than you expected. You may be exhausted from stress, anxiety, or emotional wounds that no one else sees. You may feel worn down by responsibility, disappointment, or silent battles in your mind. Whatever form your pain has taken, This verse reminds you that crying out to God is not a sign of weakness, it is an act of faith. It is a declaration that you believe God hears you and that His healing power is greater than your suffering. God's healing is not mechanical, it is relational. He does not simply fix problems, He restores people. He meets you in the place of your cry, not after you've cleaned yourself up, not after you've found the right words, but right where you are. When you cry out to Him, you are opening your heart to His presence, and His presence carries healing with it. Even now, as these words settle into your spirit, God is working. Healing does not always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it enters quietly, calming your thoughts, easing your tension, softening your fear, and reminding you that you are not alone. Let Psalm 30 verse 2 become your own prayer, not as something memorized, but as something lived. Let it rise from your heart in your own way. You don't need to force anything. You don't need to rush. Simply allow yourself to acknowledge your need and God's goodness at the same time. The same God who healed the psalmist hears you now. The same God who responded to that cry responds to yours. Healing is not distant. It is not reserved for someone else. It is available in the presence of the Lord, right where you are. As the words of Psalm 30 verse 2 continue to echo in your spirit, "O Lord my God, I cried to you for help, and you healed me," allow yourself to rest in the truth that this cry is not a one-time moment, but a posture of the heart. The cry spoken here is not hurried or casual, it is persistent, sincere, and deeply rooted in trust. It is the sound of a soul that refuses to give up on God, even when pain lingers longer than expected. This kind of cry is not loud for attention, but deep with dependence. It is the language of faith spoken through vulnerability, and God understands it perfectly. Many people believe healing begins with certainty, but Scripture reveals that healing often begins with honesty. The psalmist does not pretend to be well before healing comes. He does not deny pain, fear, or weakness. Instead, he brings it all before God. This is where transformation starts, when you allow yourself to be real in God's presence. When you stop editing your emotions. When you stop hiding the parts of yourself that feel broken or weary. God does not require perfection to heal, He requires openness. And openness begins with a cry that says, "Lord, I need you." There is also something deeply reassuring in the way the psalmist addresses God, "O Lord my God." This is a reminder that healing is rooted in relationship, not distance. God is not removed from your pain, He is personally involved in your life. He is not indifferent to your suffering, He is attentive to it. When you call Him my God, you are affirming a bond of trust, a connection that allows healing to flow freely. You are acknowledging that the one you cry out to is not only powerful, but caring, present, compassionate, and responsive. The phrase, "I cried to you for help," also teaches us that healing often requires persistence. Sometimes the cry is immediate and relief follows quickly. Other times, the cry continues day after day, night after night. But Scripture assures us that God hears every cry. None are wasted. None fall into silence. Each prayer, each tear, each moment of surrender is received by a God who listens with compassion. Healing is not delayed because God is distant, it unfolds according to His wisdom, shaping not only your body or circumstances, but your spirit and faith as well. And when the psalmist declares, you healed me, he speaks from experience, not theory. This healing is testimony. It is proof of God's faithfulness. It reminds us that God's response to sincere cries is restoration. Healing may not always come in the way we expect, but it always carries God's intention to make us whole. Sometimes He heals by removing pain, sometimes He heals by strengthening us to endure, sometimes He heals by restoring peace, hope, and trust. Whatever form it takes, healing always draws us closer to Him. As you sit with this verse, consider the areas of your life where you need healing right now. Perhaps it is physical pain that has limited your energy and joy. Perhaps it is emotional exhaustion, the weight of stress or disappointment that has quietly settled into your heart. Perhaps it is mental strain, anxiety, fear, or persistent thoughts that refuse to rest. Or perhaps it is spiritual weariness, a sense of distance or discouragement in your faith. Whatever it may be, this verse invites you to cry out honestly, trusting that God's healing power is sufficient for every need. God's healing does not always arrive with dramatic signs, but it is always effective. It restores strength where weakness once ruled. It brings clarity where confusion reigned. It renews hope where despair tried to settle. And even when healing is gradual, every step forward is evidence of God's presence at work in your life. The psalmist's testimony reminds us that healing is not hypothetical, it is real, personal, and accessible to those who cry out in faith. Let this segment encourage you to continue crying out to God, not with fear, but with expectation. The same God who healed before still heals today. The same God who listened and listens now. Your cry matters. Your pain matters. Your faith matters. And even now, as you rest in these words, God is at work, drawing you closer, strengthening your heart, and preparing you for the healing He has promised. As Psalm 30 verse 2 continues to settle into your heart, O Lord my God, I cried to you for help, and you healed me. There is an invitation here not only to cry out, but also to rest in what follows that cry. Healing is not merely an event, it is a process that unfolds within the safety of God's presence. After the cry comes the quiet work of restoration. After the release of pain comes the gentle rebuilding of strength. God does not rush this process, because healing is not only about removing what hurts, it is about restoring what was lost. He works patiently, carefully, and lovingly, ensuring that every part of you is touched by His grace. The psalmist's confidence in declaring, "You healed me," reveals a deep trust in God's faithfulness. This statement is not born from denial or wishful thinking, but from lived experience. It reflects the assurance that when God begins a healing work, He completes it according to His perfect will. Even when the pain has not yet fully disappeared, faith allows us to speak of healing as something already in motion. God's healing often begins beneath the surface, long before visible change appears. It may start by calming your thoughts, easing your anxiety, or strengthening your spirit to endure. These are not lesser forms of healing, they are foundational ones. There is also a sacred rhythm revealed in this verse, the rhythm of cry and response, surrender and restoration. The psalmist cries out not once, but from a place of genuine dependence, and God responds not with indifference, but with healing. This rhythm reminds us that healing is relational. It flows from communication with God, from a heart that remains open and receptive. When you bring your pain to Him honestly, you create space for His presence to work within you. And His presence always carries healing, even when it arrives quietly and gradually. As you rest in this truth, consider how often you may rush past moments of healing without recognizing them. Perhaps you have experienced small shifts, moments of peace in the midst of anxiety, brief relief from physical discomfort, or a renewed sense of hope after a season of despair. These are signs of God's healing touch. Healing does not always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers reassurance into your soul, reminding you that God is near and that restoration is underway. Every moment of peace, every breath of calm, every sense of renewed strength is evidence that God is working within you. God's healing also invites you into a posture of trust. Trust does not mean understanding everything or seeing immediate results. It means believing that God's response to your cry is good, even when the timing or method is unclear. The psalmist's declaration, "You healed me," reflects a confidence rooted in God's character, not circumstances. He trusts that God's goodness guarantees restoration. This trust allows healing to deepen, because it removes resistance and fear, making room for God's peace to settle fully into your heart. In moments when healing feels slow or incomplete, remember that God's work is comprehensive. He heals layers of pain, addresses wounds that may have been hidden for years, and restores parts of your heart that you may not even realize were broken. His healing is gentle yet thorough, ensuring that nothing is overlooked. Even now, as you listen and reflect, God may be revealing areas of your life that need His touch, not to overwhelm you, but to invite you into deeper restoration. His awareness of your needs is precise, and His care is intentional. Allow yourself to rest in the assurance that God has heard your cry. You do not need to repeat it in fear or desperation. You can now rest in expectation, trusting that His healing power is at work. Rest does not mean passivity, it means confidence. It means trusting that God is actively restoring you, even when you cannot yet see the full outcome. This rest creates space for healing to flourish, because it quiets the mind, calms the spirit, and opens the heart to receive God's peace. As this segment draws to a close, let Psalm 30 verse 2 continue to resonate within you. Let it remind you that your cry was heard, your pain was seen, and your healing is unfolding. God is not finished with you. He is restoring strength, renewing hope, and drawing you closer to Himself. Healing is not distant or reserved for the future, it is present, active, and deeply rooted in the loving response of a God who hears and heals. As Psalm 30 verse 2 continues to rest in your spirit, "O Lord my God, I cried to you for help, and you healed me," it gently leads you deeper, beyond surface relief and into the quiet places of your heart where healing is most needed. God's healing is never shallow. He does not merely touch the symptoms, He reaches the source. He does not rush past your pain, He sits with it, understands it, and restores it with patience and care. When you cry out to Him, He listens not only to the words you speak, but to the emotions beneath them, the memories behind them, and the wounds that shaped them. There are places within us that we rarely acknowledge, places shaped by disappointment, grief, rejection, fear, or long-carried stress. These are the places that grow tired first. These are the places that quietly ache even when everything looks fine on the outside. And yet, these are exactly the places God longs to heal. Psalm 30 verse 2 reminds us that healing begins the moment those hidden places are brought into God's presence. You do not have to explain them perfectly. You do not have to understand them fully. You simply have to allow God access to them. His healing flows where trust opens the door. The psalmist's confidence in saying, "You healed me," reflects an awareness that God's healing reaches every layer of human experience. God heals bodies, yes, but He also heals memories, emotions, perspectives, and hope itself. Sometimes the deepest healing is not the removal of pain, but the restoration of peace where pain once dominated. Sometimes healing looks like the strength to breathe freely again, to sleep without anxiety, to think without fear, to hope without hesitation. These forms of healing are just as powerful, just as divine, and just as real. God does not rush this work because healing is sacred. It requires safety, trust, and time. And God provides all three. His presence creates a safe space where your guard can come down, where your spirit no longer has to brace itself for impact. In His presence, your heart can finally rest. That rest itself is healing. When you stop striving, stop worrying, stop carrying everything alone, your body and soul begin to respond. Tension releases. Breath deepens. Peace returns. This is not coincidence, it is the natural response of a soul resting in the care of its Creator. As you remain with this verse, notice how it invites you to release control. The psalmist does not say, "I healed myself with effort." He says, "You healed me." Healing is not something you force, it is something you receive. God does not ask you to figure everything out. He asks you to trust Him with what you cannot fix. This trust is not passive, it is active surrender. It is choosing to believe that God's power is sufficient even when your strength is not. And in that surrender, healing finds space to grow. Even now, God may be gently touching areas of your life you had forgotten about or learned to live with. He may be softening hardened emotions, easing long-held tension, or restoring hope where discouragement once settled. Healing often feels subtle at first, like a quiet warmth spreading through your spirit. It is not always dramatic, but it is always intentional. God's healing work is precise, personal, and perfectly timed. He knows exactly what you need and when you need it. Psalm 30 verse 2 is not only a testimony, it is an invitation. An invitation to cry out honestly. An invitation to trust deeply. An invitation to receive fully. God is not distant from your pain. He is near, attentive, and actively restoring you. The same God who responded to the psalmist's cry is responding to yours. His healing is not limited by time, circumstance, or condition. It flows freely from His love and is sustained by His faithfulness. As this segment closes, allow yourself to remain still for a moment. Let your heart rest in the truth that God has heard you. Let your body relax into His care. Let your mind quiet itself under His peace. Healing is happening, not because you earned it, but because God is good. And His goodness always leads to restoration. As the truth of Psalm 30 verse 2 continues to unfold within your heart, "O Lord my God, I cried to you for help, and you healed me," you are invited into a deeper place of trust, where healing is no longer something you are waiting for, but something you are allowing God to complete. There is a sacred difference between striving for healing and resting in the assurance that God is already at work. The psalmist speaks from a place of confidence, not anxiety. His words reflect a settled heart, one that has learned to trust the character of God even before every outward sign of restoration appears. This kind of trust does not deny pain, it places pain in the hands of a faithful God. Healing often unfolds in layers, touching parts of you one by one, gently and deliberately. God does not overwhelm you by healing everything at once. He moves with wisdom, addressing what you are ready to release, strengthening you for what lies ahead, and restoring what has been weakened over time. Sometimes healing feels like relief, other times it feels like clarity. Sometimes it feels like renewed strength, other times it feels like peace that quietly replaces fear. Each of these moments is evidence that God has responded to your cry and is continuing His healing work within you. There is also a profound reassurance in knowing that God does not abandon the healing He begins. When the psalmist declares, "You healed me," he acknowledges not only God's power but God's faithfulness. Healing is not temporary when it is rooted in God's presence. He does not touch your life and then withdraw. He remains near, sustaining the work He has started, guarding your heart, and strengthening your spirit as restoration continues. Even when progress feels slow, even when emotions fluctuate, God's healing remains steady and sure. As you trust God with your healing, you may notice a shift in how you carry yourself through the day. Your thoughts may become calmer. Your reactions may soften. Your heart may feel lighter, even when circumstances remain unchanged. This is the quiet fruit of healing taking root. God restores not only what was broken, but also how you respond to life itself. He gives you new perspective, renewed patience, and deeper peace. These changes may seem subtle, but they are profound signs of transformation. God's healing also invites you to release what you have been holding tightly: worry, fear, resentment, or exhaustion. These burdens often linger because we feel responsible for carrying them. But Psalm 30 verse 2 reminds us that healing begins when we cry out and allow God to take over. You do not have to manage everything. You do not have to figure everything out. God is capable of handling what you cannot, and His healing power flows most freely when you surrender control and trust His care. Even now, as you remain with this verse, God may be drawing your attention to areas where trust needs to deepen. Not to burden you, but to free you. Healing is not only about restoring what hurts, it is about restoring trust, confidence, and rest. God's desire is not merely to relieve pain, but to bring you into a lasting state of peace and wholeness. This peace is not fragile, it is grounded in the knowledge that God hears, God responds, and God heals. As this segment continues, let your heart settle into the assurance that God's healing work is ongoing. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not alone in this process. God is present with you, guiding each step, strengthening each breath, and restoring each part of you with care. The same God who healed the psalmist is healing you now, patiently, lovingly, and completely. As you remain with the words of Psalm 30 verse 2, "O Lord my God, I cried to you for help, and you healed me," there is an invitation to rest, not because everything is finished, but because God has heard you. There is deep spiritual comfort in knowing that your cry did not disappear into silence, that your prayer did not fall to the ground unnoticed. God's response to your cry may not always arrive in dramatic ways, but it always arrives with purpose. Healing begins the moment God listens, because His attention itself carries restoration. Many people struggle not because God has not responded, but because they do not yet recognize the form His healing is taking. Sometimes healing is not immediate relief, but sustained strength. Sometimes it is not the removal of pain, but the ability to endure with peace. The psalmist does not explain the process, he simply testifies to the outcome. This teaches us that healing does not need to be analyzed to be trusted. It needs to be received. God works beyond our understanding, often beneath the surface, repairing what cannot yet be seen. Resting in God's healing requires letting go of the need for constant reassurance. Faith grows when we allow God to work without demanding constant evidence. Psalm 30 verse 2 reflects a heart that has learned to trust God's nature rather than focus on the symptoms of distress. This kind of trust is cultivated through surrender, choosing to believe that God is faithful even when emotions fluctuate. When you rest in God's promise, you allow healing to move freely through your heart, mind, and spirit. There is also healing in knowing that God is not impatient with your process. He does not rush you through pain or shame you for weakness. He listens to every cry, even those repeated many times. The psalmist's words remind us that persistence in prayer is not a lack of faith, but an expression of trust. Every time you cry out, you reaffirm your belief that God is the source of your healing. And every time you do, God draws nearer, strengthening your spirit and renewing your hope. As you rest in this truth, allow yourself to release the tension of expectation. Healing does not need to follow a timeline to be genuine. God's timing is shaped by wisdom, not delay. What feels slow to you may be perfectly aligned with His purpose. Healing that unfolds steadily often lasts longer and goes deeper than healing that comes suddenly. God is concerned not only with restoring you, but with sustaining you long after the pain has passed. This rest is not passive, it is deeply spiritual. It is choosing peace over panic, trust over fear, faith over doubt. When you rest in God's healing, you allow your heart to soften, your thoughts to slow, and your spirit to be renewed. This rest itself is part of the healing process. God restores through stillness just as much as through action. He heals through silence just as powerfully as through words. Psalm 30 verse 2 becomes a declaration you can return to again and again. When fear rises, you remember that God heals. When doubt whispers, you recall that God listens. When weakness feels overwhelming, you stand on the truth that God responds to your cry. This verse becomes an anchor, holding you steady when emotions shift and circumstances change. It reminds you that healing is not something you chase, it is something God gives. Let your heart remain settled in this assurance: God has heard you. He is healing you. He is faithful to complete what He has begun. You are not alone in this journey, and you are not forgotten in your pain. The same Lord who healed the psalmist is present with you now, carrying your burdens, restoring your strength, and guiding you into deeper rest and wholeness. As the journey continues with the words of Psalm 30 verse 2, "O Lord my God, I cried to you for help, and you healed me," the focus gently shifts toward the deeper places within you, where wounds may have been carried quietly for a long time. These are the places not easily seen by others, the inner spaces shaped by disappointment, grief, loss, fear, or exhaustion. God's healing is not limited to what is visible or easily named. He reaches into the depths of the heart with compassion and precision, restoring what has been hidden, neglected, or overwhelmed. Many people carry emotional and spiritual burdens that they have learned to live with, believing healing is meant only for others or for another time. Yet the psalmist's declaration is deeply personal. He does not speak of healing as a distant hope but as an experienced reality. His words remind us that healing is not reserved for the strong or the deserving, it is given to those who cry out. God responds not to perfection, but to honesty. When you bring your true self before Him, your fears, your doubts, your weariness, He meets you with grace and restoration. God's healing often begins in the heart because the heart influences every part of life. Emotional wounds can shape thoughts, behaviors, and even physical health. God understands this connection, and His healing addresses the root, not just the symptoms. When He heals the heart, peace begins to replace anxiety, hope rises where despair once lived, and trust is slowly restored. This inner healing does not erase the past, but it changes how the past affects you. God redeems what was painful by transforming its impact on your present and future. As you reflect on Psalm 30 verse 2, you may become aware of areas where you have grown guarded or withdrawn. These responses often develop as a form of protection, but over time they can prevent healing from fully entering. God does not force His way into these spaces. He waits patiently, inviting you to open them to His care. Healing flows most freely when you allow yourself to be vulnerable before God, trusting that His presence is safe and His intentions are loving. There is also comfort in knowing that God understands the complexity of healing. He does not expect immediate resolution or emotional clarity. He walks with you through the process, strengthening you step by step. Healing may involve moments of relief and moments of reflection. It may include memories resurfacing, emotions shifting, or new insights forming. None of this is a setback. It is part of God's careful and thorough work, restoring you from the inside out. Psalm 30 verse 2 reflects a relationship built on trust. The psalmist calls God, "My God," acknowledging a personal connection that goes beyond circumstance. This relationship is the foundation of healing. God heals because He cares deeply for you, not because you have met certain conditions. His healing flows from love, faithfulness, and covenant. When you rest in this truth, you allow healing to reach deeper, touching not only what hurts, but also how you see yourself and your future. As part 2 begins, let your heart remain open and receptive. God is continuing His healing work, moving deeper, restoring gently, and strengthening steadily. You do not need to rush this process or understand every step. You are invited to remain present, to trust, and to receive. The same God who heard your cry is still near, still attentive, and still healing every part of you with care and purpose. As the words of Psalm 30 verse 2 remain with you, "O Lord my God, I cried to you for help, and you healed me," there is space to acknowledge the weight you may have been carrying for far longer than you ever intended. Many burdens begin quietly, formed through responsibilities, expectations, unresolved pain, or prolonged stress. Over time, these weights become so familiar that they feel like part of who you are. Yet God never intended for you to carry them alone, and healing often begins when you recognize the burden and bring it honestly before Him. The psalmist's cry was not polished or measured, it was genuine and necessary. It came from a place of need, where strength had reached its limit. This reminds us that healing does not require endurance without complaint. God does not ask you to suffer in silence. He invites you to speak, to cry out, and to release what has been heavy on your heart. When you do, healing begins, not because the burden immediately disappears, but because God steps in to share the weight. God's healing addresses both the source of the burden and the way it has shaped you. Prolonged stress can wear down hope, patience, and trust. It can affect how you see yourself and how you relate to others. God understands these effects, and His healing restores balance. He does not merely remove pressure, He strengthens you to live freely again. He replaces heaviness with peace, tension with calm, and exhaustion with renewed strength. As healing unfolds, you may notice a gradual lightening of the inner load. Thoughts that once felt overwhelming may begin to slow. Emotions that felt tightly bound may start to loosen. This is not accidental, it is the quiet work of God responding to your cry. Healing often comes gently, not to startle the heart, but to soothe it. God moves at a pace that allows you to adjust, to breathe, and to trust again. There is also healing in learning to release responsibility for things beyond your control. Many burdens persist because they are tied to outcomes you feel accountable for, relationships, decisions, or circumstances that cannot be fully managed. God invites you to place these in His care. When you surrender what you cannot carry, healing creates space for peace. Trust grows as you allow God to work in ways you cannot predict or control. Psalm 30 verse 2 affirms that God responds personally. The psalmist does not speak of healing as a theory, but as an experienced reality. This personal response is still available to you. God hears your individual cry, understands your unique burden, and applies healing where it is needed most. His care is not general, it is specific. He knows the weight you have carried, how long you have carried it, and how deeply it has affected you. As you remain with this truth, allow yourself to release even a small portion of the burden you hold. You do not have to release everything at once. Healing respects your capacity and honors your pace. Each act of surrender, no matter how small, invites God's restoring presence. Over time, these moments of release build upon one another, leading to deeper freedom and lasting peace. God is not rushing you or pushing you beyond what you can bear. He is walking with you, steady and attentive, healing the weight you were never meant to carry alone. The same God who healed the psalmist is healing you now, patiently and faithfully, one burden at a time. God is not rushing you or pushing you beyond what you can bear. He is walking with you, steady and attentive, healing the weight you were never meant to carry alone. The same God who healed the psalmist is healing you now, patiently and faithfully, one burden at a time. As Psalm 30 verse 2 continues to echo within your heart, "O Lord my God, I cried to you for help, and you healed me," there is an invitation to allow God's healing to reach the places where hope may have quietly weakened over time. Hope does not usually disappear suddenly, it fades slowly, worn down by unanswered questions, repeated disappointments, or long seasons of waiting. God sees these hidden places of discouragement, and His healing is gentle enough to restore hope without overwhelming a weary heart. When hope grows weak, life can begin to feel heavy and uncertain. Decisions may feel more difficult, joy may feel distant, and faith may feel fragile. Yet the psalmist's declaration reminds us that healing includes the restoration of hope. God does not merely address physical or emotional pain, He renews the inner strength that allows you to look forward with confidence again. Healing hope does not mean denying past pain, but allowing God to reshape how that pain influences your expectations. God's healing presence often begins by reminding you of His faithfulness. Even when circumstances have been challenging, He has remained near. He has sustained you through moments you once thought you would not survive. Recognizing this truth can begin to rekindle hope, not as optimism rooted in circumstances, but as trust rooted in God's character. Healing hope is about learning to rely on who God is, rather than on what life looks like in the moment. As God heals the places where hope has weakened, He also restores perspective. Pain can narrow focus, making it difficult to see beyond immediate struggles. God gently widens that view, reminding you that your story is still unfolding. Healing does not erase the past, but it reframes it, allowing you to see how God has been present even in difficult seasons. This renewed perspective strengthens hope by anchoring it in God's ongoing work rather than in temporary setbacks. Healing hope may also involve releasing expectations that have become sources of disappointment. Sometimes hope weakens because it is tied too tightly to specific outcomes. God invites you to place your hope in Him rather than in particular results. This shift allows healing to take place without pressure. When hope is rooted in God's presence rather than in circumstances, it becomes resilient and steady, capable of enduring uncertainty. Psalm 30 verse 2 speaks of a cry that led to healing. This cry reflects honesty and vulnerability. God invites you to bring your discouragement, your doubts, and your weariness before Him without fear. Healing hope grows in spaces where honesty is welcomed. God does not require you to feel hopeful before He heals you. He heals you so that hope can be restored. As you remain with this verse, allow yourself to imagine hope returning, not suddenly or forcefully, but quietly and naturally. It may appear as renewed confidence, deeper peace, or the ability to trust God one step at a time. These are signs of healing at work. God is restoring what has been weakened, strengthening what has been fragile, and renewing your capacity to hope. You are not expected to rush this process or force yourself into optimism. God's healing moves at a pace shaped by love and wisdom. He is faithful to complete what He has begun, and hope will rise again as His healing continues to unfold within you. As Psalm 30 verse 2 continues to rest in your heart, O Lord my God, I cried to you for help, and you healed me. There is space to acknowledge a form of pain that is often overlooked, spiritual weariness. This kind of weariness does not always come from one single hardship, but from the steady accumulation of pressure, responsibility, and emotional strain over time. It can leave you feeling drained, disconnected, or quietly discouraged, even when outwardly everything appears manageable. God sees this weariness clearly, and His healing reaches into these tender places with compassion. Spiritual weariness can affect how you pray, how you listen, and how you relate to God. It may feel harder to focus, harder to trust, or harder to rest. Yet the psalmist's words remind us that healing is available even when strength feels limited. God does not require energetic faith or perfect devotion. He responds to honest cries, spoken from exhaustion as much as from desperation. When you bring your weariness to God, you invite Him to restore not just energy, but connection. God's healing of weariness often begins by slowing the pace of the soul. Life's demands can create an internal urgency that never rests. God gently interrupts this cycle, inviting you into stillness where healing can take place. This stillness is not inactivity, it is attentiveness. It allows your spirit to breathe again, to release tension, and to receive God's sustaining presence. In this quiet space, weariness begins to lift, not because circumstances change immediately, but because your spirit is renewed. As healing continues, God also restores clarity. Weariness can cloud perception, making challenges seem larger and hope seem distant. God's healing light gently clears this fog, allowing you to see with renewed perspective. You may begin to recognize where you need rest, where you need support, and where you need to release expectations that are no longer life-giving. This clarity is part of healing, guiding you. Psalm 30 verse 2 reflects a relationship built on trust, where the psalmist brings his need directly to God. This kind of trust is essential for healing weariness. It involves acknowledging limits and allowing God to supply what is lacking. God does not shame you for feeling tired or depleted. He honors your honesty and meets you with grace. His healing restores strength without pressure, offering rest without guilt. Healing weariness also includes learning to receive God's care consistently, not only in moments of crisis. God's presence is not reserved for emergencies, it is meant to sustain you daily. As you allow His healing to continue, you may find that your spiritual life becomes less strained and more natural. Prayer becomes less about effort and more about presence. Faith becomes less about performance and more about trust. As this segment unfolds, let yourself remain open to God's restoring work. You do not need to push through exhaustion or prove resilience. God's healing invites you to rest, to receive, and to be renewed from the inside out. The same Lord who healed the psalmist is healing you now, gently lifting the weariness that has settled into your spirit and restoring strength for the journey ahead. As Psalm 30 verse 2 continues to resonate, "O Lord my God, I cried to you for help, and you healed me," there is room to acknowledge fear, especially the kind that lingers quietly beneath the surface of daily life. This fear may not always announce itself loudly. It often shows up in hesitation, in overthinking, in the need to control outcomes, or in the constant anticipation of what might go wrong. God's healing reaches these subtle forms of fear with patience and understanding, restoring peace where tension has taken root. Fear can shape how you think, how you decide, and how you relate to others. It can limit openness, reduce trust, and create emotional distance. Over time, fear can feel protective, convincing you that vigilance will keep you safe. Yet God's healing offers a different kind of safety, one rooted in His presence rather than in constant alertness. When you cry out to God, as the psalmist did, you invite Him to replace fear with trust and reassurance. God's healing of fear often begins by reminding you of His nearness. Fear thrives in isolation, growing stronger when you feel alone or unsupported. God's presence disrupts this isolation. He does not observe your fear from a distance, He enters it with you. His healing presence brings calm, allowing your thoughts to settle and your heart to feel secure again. This calm is not fragile, it is grounded in the assurance that God is attentive and involved in your life. As fear begins to loosen its grip, you may notice a shift in how you respond to uncertainty. Situations that once felt overwhelming may begin to feel manageable. Decisions may become clearer. Trust may feel more accessible. These changes are signs of healing at work. God does not eliminate all uncertainty, but He strengthens you to navigate it without fear dominating your thoughts. Healing fear also involves releasing the belief that you must anticipate every possible outcome to remain safe. God invites you to trust His guidance rather than your ability to foresee challenges. This release creates space for peace to grow. Psalm 30 verse 2 affirms that God responds when you cry for help. You are not left to face fear alone. God's healing presence remains with you, offering strength and reassurance in moments of doubt. Fear can shape how you think, how you decide, and how you relate to others. It can limit openness, reduce trust, and create emotional distance. Over time, fear can feel protective, convincing you that vigilance will keep you safe. Yet God's healing offers a different kind of safety, one rooted in His presence rather than in constant alertness. When you cry out to God, as the psalmist did, you invite Him to replace fear with trust and reassurance. God's healing of fear often begins by reminding you of His nearness. Fear thrives in isolation, growing stronger when you feel alone or unsupported. God's presence disrupts this isolation. He does not observe your fear from a distance, He enters it with you. His healing presence brings calm, allowing your thoughts to settle and your heart to feel secure again. This calm is not fragile, it is grounded in the assurance that God is attentive and involved in your life. As fear begins to loosen its grip, you may notice a shift in how you respond to uncertainty. Situations that once felt overwhelming may begin to feel manageable. Decisions may become clearer. Trust may feel more accessible. These changes are signs of healing at work. God does not eliminate all uncertainty, but He strengthens you to navigate it without fear dominating your thoughts. Healing fear also involves releasing the belief that you must anticipate every possible outcome to remain safe. God invites you to trust His guidance rather than your ability to foresee challenges. This release creates space for peace to grow. Psalm 30 verse 2 affirms that God responds when you cry for help. You are not left to face fear alone. God's healing presence remains with you, offering strength and reassurance in moments of doubt. As this segment continues, allow yourself to rest in the truth that fear does not define you. It does not have the final word over your life. God's healing is greater than the fears you carry, no matter how long they have been present. He is patient, consistent, and faithful in restoring peace. With each moment of trust, fear loses its influence, and healing deepens. God is healing not only what is visible, but also what has been shaping your inner life. He is replacing fear with peace, uncertainty with trust, and tension with rest. The same God who healed the psalmist is healing you now, guiding you into a deeper sense of safety and assurance. As Psalm 30 verse 2 continues to rest within your heart, O Lord my God, I cried to you for help, and you healed me, there is a gentle invitation to lean more fully into trust, not as an effort, but as a response to God's steady presence. Trust grows when you realize that God has been with you not only in moments of clarity, but also in moments of confusion, uncertainty, and weakness. His presence has not depended on your strength, your understanding, or your consistency. It has remained constant, quietly sustaining you even when you were unaware. Healing deepens when trust replaces resistance. Often, pain lingers not because God is absent, but because the heart remains guarded, shaped by past disappointments or unmet expectations. God does not demand instant trust, He patiently earns it through faithfulness. Each moment of His nearness, each response to your cry, gradually restores confidence in His care. Psalm 30 verse 2 reflects this journey, from desperation to assurance, revealing a God who proves Himself trustworthy through action, not just promise. Trust allows healing to move beyond relief and into restoration. When you trust God, you allow Him to guide not only what you release, but also how you move forward. Healing then becomes a foundation for renewed living, not merely a pause in pain. God strengthens your ability to rely on Him, even when circumstances remain uncertain. This trust creates stability, grounding you in the knowledge that you are supported and cared for regardless of external conditions. God's steady presence brings healing by calming the inner urgency that often accompanies pain. The need for immediate answers or quick solutions can create tension that interferes with peace. God invites you into a slower, steadier rhythm where healing unfolds naturally. Trusting His presence allows you to rest without anxiety, knowing that He is attentive and involved in every detail of your life. This rest itself becomes a source of strength and renewal. As trust grows, fear loses its influence, and peace becomes more consistent. You may find yourself responding to challenges with greater calm, making decisions with more clarity, and approaching the future with less apprehension. These shifts are signs that healing has taken root. God's presence does not eliminate difficulty, but it transforms how difficulty is experienced. With trust, challenges no longer define you or overwhelm you. Psalm 30 verse 2 stands as a reminder that healing is relational. It flows from connection with God, from knowing that He hears, responds, and remains near. Trust strengthens this connection, allowing healing to reach deeper levels of the heart. God's presence becomes a source of comfort, guidance, and stability that carries you through every season. You are not required to carry yourself through this process alone. God is present, faithful, and attentive, guiding each step with wisdom and care. The same Lord who healed the psalmist is healing you now, steadily and completely, drawing you into deeper trust and lasting peace. As the words of Psalm 30 verse 2 continue to remain present, O Lord my God, I cried to you for help, and you healed me, the focus gently turns toward the restoration of joy and confidence that healing brings. Pain, weariness, and prolonged struggle can quietly diminish joy, not by removing it entirely, but by placing it beyond reach. God's healing does not merely stabilize the heart, it renews the capacity to experience joy again, not as fleeting happiness, but as deep assurance rooted in His faithfulness. Joy restored through healing is not dependent on perfect circumstances. It arises from the knowledge that God has been present through every moment of pain and has not abandoned you. This confidence grows as you reflect on how God responded to your cry, how He sustained you when strength felt limited, and how His healing presence remained consistent even when outcomes were uncertain. This awareness gradually rebuilds trust, allowing joy to return naturally, without pressure or expectation. God's healing also restores confidence in your ability to move forward. Pain often creates hesitation, making the future feel uncertain or intimidating. Healing strengthens the heart, allowing you to face what lies ahead with renewed courage. This confidence does not come from self-reliance, but from knowing that God walks with you. Psalm 30 verse 2 reflects a relationship where reliance on God becomes a source of strength rather than vulnerability. Trusting God becomes an anchor, steadying you as you step into new seasons. As joy and confidence begin to return, you may notice a shift in how you engage with life. Moments of gratitude may surface more easily. Hope may feel more accessible. Your ability to rest in God's presence may deepen. These changes are not forced, they emerge as natural responses to healing. God restores joy at a pace that honors your journey, allowing it to grow steadily and sustainably. Healing joy also includes learning to celebrate progress, even when the journey is ongoing. God invites you to recognize the healing that has already taken place, without waiting for everything to be resolved. Gratitude strengthens joy by acknowledging God's work in your life. Psalm 30 itself reflects this movement, from distress to thanksgiving, showing how healing transforms perspective and renews praise. Joy and confidence are not rewards for endurance, they are gifts flowing from God's healing presence. You are invited to receive them gently, without comparison or expectation. God continues His work, restoring not only what was broken, but also what brings life, peace, and purpose. The same God who healed the psalmist is restoring joy and confidence within you now. His healing reaches beyond relief, shaping how you live, trust, and hope. As you remain with Him, joy will continue to rise, and confidence will grow, grounded in the assurance that God hears, heals, and remains faithful. As Psalm 30 verse 2 remains gently present, "O Lord my God, I cried to you for help, and you healed me," there is space to acknowledge how the past can continue to influence the present long after the original pain has passed. Memories, experiences, and moments of loss or disappointment can quietly shape thoughts, emotions, and responses. God's healing reaches into these areas with care, not to erase memory, but to free the heart from the weight those memories may still carry. Healing from the past does not mean forgetting what happened or pretending it had no impact. Instead, it involves allowing God to change how those experiences affect you now. Pain that once defined your story no longer has to dictate your future. God's healing reframes the past, placing it within the context of His faithfulness. When you cry out to God, as the psalmist did, you invite Him to redeem what once caused hurt, transforming it into a source of strength rather than limitation. God's healing of the past often unfolds gradually. Memories may resurface, emotions may rise, and reflections may deepen. This process is not a setback, it is a sign that healing is reaching deeper layers. God brings these moments to the surface not to overwhelm you, but to restore balance and peace. He walks with you through each step, offering reassurance and stability as old wounds lose their power. As healing continues, you may notice that past experiences begin to feel less heavy. Situations that once triggered fear or sadness may no longer hold the same influence. This freedom is not forced, it grows naturally as God's presence fills spaces once shaped by pain. Healing creates room for new responses, allowing peace and confidence to replace tension and hesitation. Psalm 30 verse 2 reflects a turning point, a moment where the psalmist recognizes God's intervention. This recognition strengthens trust, allowing the past to be seen through a lens of grace rather than regret. God does not waste pain. He uses it to deepen compassion, strengthen faith, and cultivate resilience. Healing the past allows you to carry these lessons without carrying the weight of unresolved hurt. As this segment unfolds, allow yourself to release any lingering burdens connected to what has already happened. You are not required to relive pain to prove growth. God's healing frees you to live fully in the present, grounded in His care. The past no longer defines you, God's healing does. The same God who healed the psalmist is bringing freedom to your heart now. He is restoring peace where pain once lingered and creating space for renewal, hope, and trust to grow. Healing continues, gently and faithfully, guiding you toward lasting freedom. As Psalm 30 verse 2 continues to settle within you, O Lord my God, I cried to you for help, and you healed me. There is space to address how pain can affect trust and emotional safety. Experiences of loss, disappointment, or betrayal can quietly erode the sense of security that allows the heart to remain open. God's healing reaches these vulnerable areas with gentleness, restoring trust not only in Him, but also within yourself. Emotional safety is often shaped by early experiences and reinforced through relationships. When that safety is disrupted, the heart learns to protect itself by withdrawing or becoming guarded. While these responses may once have been necessary, they can prevent healing and connection over time. God does not criticize these protective instincts, He understands them. His healing invites you to slowly release what no longer serves you, replacing fear with reassurance and tension with peace. Healing trust begins with recognizing that God's presence has been consistent, even when people or circumstances have not been. Psalm 30 verse 2 reflects a relationship built on reliability. God hears, responds, and heals. This consistency creates a foundation where trust can be rebuilt without pressure. God does not rush this process. He allows trust to grow naturally through repeated experiences of His care and faithfulness. As healing progresses, you may find that emotional reactions soften. Situations that once triggered defensiveness or anxiety may begin to feel less threatening. This shift does not mean vulnerability without boundaries, it means strength rooted in assurance rather than fear. God's healing restores the ability to engage with life from a place of confidence, knowing that you are supported and protected by His presence. God's healing also restores trust in your own discernment. Pain can create self-doubt, making it difficult to trust decisions or instincts. God gently rebuilds this confidence by guiding you with wisdom and clarity. Healing allows you to listen to your inner sense of peace and alignment, recognizing God's guidance without fear of being misled. This restored trust brings stability and calm to decision-making. Psalm 30 verse 2 stands as a testimony that healing transforms how we relate to God and to life. Trust is not forced, it is cultivated through relationship. As you remain with this verse, allow yourself to experience God's presence as safe and steady. Healing trust takes time, but each moment of peace, each sense of reassurance, contributes to lasting restoration. The same God who healed the psalmist is restoring emotional safety within you now. He is creating space for trust to grow, replacing fear with confidence, and restoring the assurance that you are cared for and protected. Healing continues, bringing stability, peace, and renewed openness to your heart. As Psalm 30 verse 2 continues to resonate, O Lord my God, I cried to you for help, and you healed me. There is a deep invitation to allow God's healing to strengthen your spirit for everyday life. Often, the burdens we carry are not only past wounds but ongoing pressures, responsibilities, relational challenges, and the constant demands of modern living. These pressures can erode resilience, leaving the spirit fatigued. God's healing, however, restores strength from within, equipping you to face each day with renewed vitality and calm assurance. The psalmist's declaration is a powerful reminder that healing is comprehensive. It addresses not only the acute moments of pain but also the subtle, cumulative effects of life's struggles. When the spirit is renewed, patience grows, clarity returns, and the capacity to engage fully with life is restored. Healing becomes a source of empowerment rather than mere relief. You begin to notice that challenges no longer weigh as heavily, because the spirit within you has been fortified. God's restoration of the spirit often begins quietly, in small moments of reflection and awareness. You may notice a shift in perspective, a deeper sense of peace, or renewed motivation to approach tasks and relationships with balance. These subtle transformations are signs of God's ongoing work, laying a foundation for sustainable strength rather than temporary relief. Healing the spirit is not rushed, it unfolds gradually, integrating with every aspect of life. As your spirit strengthens, you may also find that your connection to God deepens. Psalm 30 verse 2 reflects the intimate response of God to the psalmist's cry, and this same relational healing is available to you. Through prayer, reflection, and reliance on God's guidance, your spiritual foundation becomes resilient. The restored spirit is better able to trust, to persevere, and to find joy even amidst life's uncertainties. Healing the spirit also impacts emotional regulation and mental clarity. When the spirit is renewed, stress and anxiety lose some of their grip, and emotional responses become calmer and more balanced. God's healing presence restores equilibrium, allowing for wiser decisions and more compassionate interactions with others. Strengthening the spirit is not merely for endurance, it is for thriving, living fully and faithfully in each moment. God's healing is not a one-time event but a continuous presence that nourishes, equips, and sustains. The same God who healed the psalmist is now fortifying your spirit, preparing you to navigate each day with resilience, hope, and peace. As Psalm 30 verse 2 gently resonates within your heart, "O Lord my God, I cried to you for help, and you healed me," there is an invitation to experience deep, abiding peace that reaches beyond circumstances. This inner peace is not dependent on life being easy or predictable, but emerges from the awareness that God is present, attentive, and actively working in every aspect of your life. Healing, in this sense, is not only about restoration but also about cultivating a stable, unshakable calm within the soul. Many carry inner tension, subtle anxieties, lingering regrets, or unspoken fears, that quietly disrupts emotional balance. God's healing addresses these tensions at their core. He does not merely soothe the surface, He transforms the very root of unrest. As you meditate on Psalm 30 verse 2, imagine God's presence flowing into every corner of your heart and mind, softening rigidness, easing worry, and replacing unrest with serenity. This peace is tangible, steady, and enduring. Inner peace also allows you to respond to life differently. Situations that previously triggered stress, anger, or frustration now meet a heart that has been softened and strengthened simultaneously. God's healing does not remove challenges, but it equips you to meet them with calm assurance. Each moment of trust in His presence reinforces this peace, creating a positive cycle where faith and calm deepen together. Healing, therefore, is not only restorative but also transformative, shaping both heart and mind. Psalm 30 verse 2 reflects a personal, relational dynamic, the psalmist cries out and receives healing directly from God. This relational aspect is essential for experiencing deep peace. It reminds you that God's healing is not abstract or distant, it is present and intimate. When you surrender anxieties and burdens to Him, you invite Him to fill those spaces with reassurance, stillness, and comfort. This act of release allows peace to flow where it has previously been blocked by fear or doubt. As healing continues, you may notice subtler effects: clarity in decision-making, gentleness in interactions, patience in waiting, and joy in small moments. These are not fleeting or superficial, they are manifestations of God's transformative work within your inner life. Peace becomes a foundation upon which the rest of your healing can flourish, supporting your emotional, spiritual, and even physical well-being. Finally, God's peace reminds you that His care is continuous. Even when life brings uncertainty or trials, the presence that healed the psalmist is present to sustain you. This healing peace becomes a reliable anchor, a reminder that God's faithfulness does not waver, and that you are never navigating life alone. The same God who restored the psalmist is bringing tranquility, stability, and deep rest into your heart now, creating a sanctuary of peace that endures beyond the moment. As Psalm 30 verse 2 softly echoes, "O Lord my God, I cried to you for help, and you healed me," there is a profound invitation to anchor yourself fully in God's everlasting presence. This final stage of healing moves beyond relief from pain, restoration of strength, or renewal of joy. It is a deep settling into the reality that God's presence is constant, faithful, and unshakable. Healing reaches its fullness when you recognize that no matter the challenges ahead, no matter the uncertainties around you, God remains a steady foundation. Anchoring in God's presence transforms how you experience life. Situations that once caused fear, frustration, or despair no longer have the same hold. His faithful presence becomes a shelter, a source of reassurance, and a guiding light. Psalm 30 verse 2 reflects a relationship in which the psalmist's cry is met with attentive care, demonstrating that God's response is personal, immediate, and powerful. Healing, therefore, is not just a temporary reprieve, it is a long-term transformation grounded in divine constancy. This anchored healing fosters resilience. When you are rooted in God, difficulties are met not with panic or doubt but with calm strength and confidence. Your spirit recognizes that challenges are temporary, while God's presence is eternal. Healing shapes your perception, allowing you to discern His guidance, to trust His timing, and to find assurance in His wisdom. Every prayer, every reflection, every moment of surrender contributes to a heart securely grounded in Him. God's presence also brings holistic restoration. It touches your mind, renewing clarity and focus. It restores your heart, bringing peace, joy, and courage. It strengthens your spirit, equipping you to navigate life with balance and wisdom. Psalm 30 verse 2 shows that God's healing is relational and personal. He meets you where you are, listens to your cry, and restores you completely. Anchoring in His presence allows all aspects of your life to experience this holistic healing. As this healing anchors you, you may notice a deep, abiding sense of peace and confidence. The uncertainties of tomorrow, the regrets of yesterday, and the stresses of today begin to lose their control over your heart. In their place emerges steadfast trust and calm assurance, rooted in the knowledge that God is faithful. His healing becomes a continuous presence, sustaining you in every circumstance. Finally, This anchored healing invites you to live fully, not cautiously. You are invited to step into life with renewed purpose, deeper trust, and a heart open to God's guidance. Just as the psalmist experienced healing, restoration, and joy, so too are you invited to receive these gifts now. The Lord who healed you continues to work in your life, anchoring you in His love, surrounding you with peace, and filling your spirit with enduring strength.